Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're stepping right into the corporate boardroom to learn exactly how top-tier consultants solve million-dollar crises. We're going to take all that dry academic textbook theory and transform it into high-stakes, evidence-based corporate advice. Our subject for today? We're taking a deep dive into a tutor walkthrough deck for a fictional global 3D printing company named Kwirtmak. Whether you're pitching to a new client or defending a huge project at your own job, cracking this specific case study is basically a masterclass in how to solve really complex problems.
Now, this quote right here, this is the absolute golden rule of our explainer today. The tutor who designed this walkthrough deck has one core philosophy: generic answers fail. Seriously, if you just recite business theory, you lose. In the real world, and especially in high-level strategic assessments, relentless, specific application of the facts is literally the only way to win. You've got to prove you actually understand the specific company's DNA. To get a sense of things, just look at the sheer scale of the crisis we're walking into here. $1,174.6 million. That is Kwirtmak's 2026 operating profit. And you might be wondering, why is that a crisis? Well, because just the year before, in 2025, it was $1,611.1 million. On top of that, their overall revenue plummeted from over $2.8 billion down to $2.3 billion. So the stakes are incredibly high right now, and the board is under massive, intense pressure from shareholders to restore growth and confidence. So this is our corporate playbook for today. It's a curated look at a mock question bank that features 20 complex, strategic scenarios, all tightly tailored to Kwirtmak. We're going to tackle a selection of these exact questions together. By seeing how the tutor frames and grades the responses, you'll learn the exact methodology you need to act like a true top-tier corporate strategist.
Well, let's look at this comparison to really build a picture of the problem. It is so tempting to look at Kwirtmak's falling revenue and just, blame the global economy. But hold on, look at their main competitor, Bresco. While Kwirtmak's revenue fell 18.8%, Bresco's actually grew by 9.9%, breaking the $3 billion mark. So the crucial takeaway here is that Kwirtmak isn't just suffering a general market downturn. No, they're actively losing market share and momentum to a direct rival. Any strategy we come up with has to address that specific competitive weakness, not just rely on general cost cutting.
Let's look at the three-step method, building a bulletproof strategic recommendation. Here is the tutor's three-step masterclass framework for making a recommendation that's totally bulletproof. Step 1, always open with the commercial issue. So start with the fact that Bresco is growing while Kwirtmak is shrinking. Step 2, apply facts relentlessly. Don't just wave your hands around, name the actual directors, quote that specific $270 million R&D budget, cite the principal risks. And step 3, balance and recommend. You have to evaluate both the upside and the downside and then finish with a definitive judgment. Never, ever leave the board hanging. Scenario 1, hostile takeover defense. Fighting off an opportunistic bid. All right, picture this strategic dilemma. Because of that terrible 2026 performance we just talked about, Kwirtmak's share price is super volatile, and it's tanked to roughly E50 by April 2026. A rival senses blood in the water, right? So they make a hostile cash offer at a small premium to that really depressed share price. How do you, as the strategist, advise the board to defend the company? This comparison brilliantly illustrates the difference between knowing the theory and actually applying the facts. The generic answer just says, hey, reject it, the price is low. But look at the strong answer. It aggressively uses Kwirtmak's actual numbers. It argues that E50 completely ignores intrinsic value, and it demands the use of discounted cash flow to prove the future value of the company is way higher based on expected earnings. Why? Because Kwirtmak maintains a massive $270 million research and development spend, and they have enormous specialist assets, like over $2.5 billion in property, plant, and equipment. You have to prove to shareholders that 1 year of short-term weakness does absolutely not justify selling off the company's future on the cheap.
Now, I want you to lock this number in your brain, 2.3. That is Kwirtmak's beta. A beta of 2.3 means the company's stock is highly volatile compared to the broader market. The tutor points out that because of this high volatility, earnings multiples have to be used very, very carefully in evaluation defense. You literally cannot let a bidder use one single terrible year of earnings to steal the whole company. Moving on to scenario 2, the cyber breach, protecting the intellectual heart of the company. Imagine you get that dreaded call from the IT department. An unauthorized export of a highly confidential customer CAD file was attempted, but thankfully, the system prevented it. The data didn't actually leave the building. So given that Kwirtmak serves really high-stakes clients in the aerospace and automotive industries, how should the board respond to a disaster that was technically averted?
The strategic reality here is fascinating. You might be thinking, hey, no harm, no foul, right? Actually, scratch that, wrong. For Kwirtmak's advanced manufacturing and aerospace clients, that CAD file isn't just a blueprint. It is the intellectual heart of their product. The tutor notes that even a prevented breach reveals a critical weakness in your digital environment. The issue isn't just whether data leaked, it's whether clients can trust your systems at all. So the crucial point is avoiding the trap of the generic answer. A generic answer is just going to say, sweep it under the rug to save face. But in high-stakes manufacturing, sweeping things under the rug just creates a tripping hazard that will eventually burn your company to the ground. The strong, high-scoring consultant prioritizes long-term value over short-term PR. They recommend full, transparent disclosure to the customer, an immediate root cause analysis, and a total overhaul of third-party access and board-level cyber oversight. And why go to all that trouble? Because Kwirtmak charges premium prices based entirely on output accuracy and trusted quality. If you hide in your mess and it leaks later, you destroy the very trust that your entire business model relies on.
All right, scenario 3, healthcare expansion, diversifying into life or death markets. So, Kwirtmak is considering expanding its advanced 3D printing tech into the healthcare sector, specifically for things like dental implants, artificial limbs, and even heart valves. On paper, it sounds fantastic. Healthcare is way less cyclical than their traditional industrial or automotive markets, but consider the dramatic shift in risk when you go from printing car parts to printing human hearts. What would you advise the board to do? Once again, the generic answer is just blindly optimistic. Yes, it's a growing market, go for it. But the strong answer anchors itself in the harsh realities of the case. The tutor demands balance. Yes, healthcare diversifies demand, for sure, but these aren't car parts, these are life or death products. The strong recommendation is to expand selectively, noting that Kwirtmak has to first secure strict Enlandian health service approvals. It warns that entering this space requires a massive upgrade in quality assurance and material traceability to prevent mission-critical failures and potentially catastrophic legal exposure.
Finally, let's look at the ultimate tutor checklist, final tests for your strategic advice. The source material leaves us with this final rapid-fire checklist. It's the exact rubric used to grade top-tier corporate problem-solving. Ask yourself, did you start with the actual business pain point instead of just a textbook definition? Did you weave in the exact numbers, the competitors, and the director names? Did you fairly weigh the pros and the cons? Is your final advice actually linked to the company's stated mission and risks? And finally, and this is a big one, did you give a definitive judgment? Because an expensive consultant who just says, it depends, is a consultant who doesn't get hired again.
I want to end on this provocative thoughts straight from the tutor's notes. Read your strategic advice. If you could cross out the name Kwirtmak, replace it with any other company name, and the advice still makes total sense, then it is still too generic. True strategy is entirely bespoke. So take a look at the last major decision you made at work. If you swapped your name for someone else's, would the logic still hold up? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will see you next time.